Hello and welcome. We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Israeli strikes kill Hamas leader in Lebanon, pounds Yemeni port city of Hodeidah. US President Biden says all-out war in Middle East has to be avoided. Freedom Party triumphs in Austria, first far-right victory since Nazi era. Japanese stocks sink after ruling party chooses Shigeru Ishiba as Prime Minister. Rescue efforts intensify as deaths count from Hurricane Helene in US surges. President Biden to visit affected areas this week. In India, flood alert for 13 districts in Bihar after Nepal releases water from barrages. And India's legendary actor Mithun Chakraborty to receive Dadasaheb Phalke Award for iconic contribution to the Indian cinema. Latest on Israel-Hezbollah conflict, Hamas said its leader in Lebanon, Fateh Sharif Abu al-Amin, was killed along with his wife, son and daughter in a strike that targeted their house in the southern city of Tyre in early hours of Monday. The Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, a Palestinian terrorist group, said that 3 of its leaders were killed in the Israeli strike in Kola district. The PFLP is another terrorist group taking part in the fight against Israel. At least 4 people were killed after an Israeli airstrike hit a residential area in Beirut's Kola district in early hours. Israel's military had struck Beirut's Dahieh area on Sunday. Israel has launched airstrikes on Yemen targeting Houthi-controlled sites on Sunday. The targets included power plants and a seaport which were used by the Houthis to transfer Iranian weapons to the region, in addition to military supplies and oil. Israel Defense Forces said the airstrikes on Yemen's port of Hodeidah were a response to Houthi missile attacks on Israel in recent days. Israel's military said it struck dozens of targets in Lebanon, including launchers and weapon stores, and had intercepted 8 projectiles coming from the direction of Lebanon and 1 from the Red Sea. The strikes took place as Israel attacked more targets in Lebanon, where its intensifying bombardment over 2 weeks has killed a string of top Hezbollah leaders. Now, Israel's military chief of staff, Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, said the military will continue fighting Hezbollah to remove the threat that it poses to Israeli civilians. Lieutenant General Halevi, in a video statement, said that Lebanon's armed group Hezbollah had lost weapons, operatives and its leaders in Israeli strikes, and that Israel needs to keep hitting it hard. He said the IDF will not allow Hezbollah threat to remain. Meanwhile, the US President Joe Biden has said that he would speak with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as tensions in the West Asia increase following Israel's assassination of Hezbollah chief Nasrallah. Talking to reporters, Biden said he believes that an all-out conflict in the West Asia must be avoided.
We really have to avoid it. We've already taken precautions relative to our embassies and personnel who want to leave. But we're not there yet, but we're working like hell with the French and many others to see this will. Thank you.
In a significant move, Gideon Saar, leader of the New Hope Party, on Sunday rejoined Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government. The decision was announced by Saar and Netanyahu in a joint press conference. Saar, who has been one of Netanyahu's most vocal critics in the past few years, is due to serve as a minister without a portfolio and have a seat in the Prime Minister's Security Cabinet. By joining the government, With his four-seat party, Sar will give Netanyahu a solid majority of 68 in the 120-seat parliament.
I appreciate the fact that Gideon Sar accepted my request and agreed today to return to the government. This move contributes to the unity within us, also contributes to the unity against our enemies. During the discussions of the political and security cabinet, I was very impressed by Sar's broad vision and his ability to offer creative solutions to complicated problems. More than once, we have seen eye to eye the steps needed to be taken.
Citizens of Israel, our beloved country, has been for nearly a year in a fierce war on several fronts. This is a historical test that we only have one way to deal with it, to have the upper hand.
Meanwhile, White House National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby said the U.S. must be prepared for Iranian retaliation against Israel for strikes on Hezbollah. In an interview to a U.S. media house, Kirby told the U.S. is closely monitoring the situation in the Middle East. He said State Department does not feel a need for American evacuation from Israel and Lebanon so far. Kirby also urged family of hostages to remain hopeful. Now, Saudi Arabia expressed its unwavering support for the Lebanese people amidst ongoing regional tensions. In its official statement, the Saudi Foreign Ministry expressed its great concern at the conflict in Lebanon, calling for the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity to be respected. The kingdom made its statement following Israel's killing of Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah, although it did not specifically name him. Shifting focus to Russia-Ukraine conflict now, Russia launched several waves of drone attacks targeting Kiev early on Monday, with air defense units engaging in repelling the strikes for several hours, Ukraine's military reported. Air defense systems sprang into action, engaging the drones in a fierce effort to protect the capital. Ukraine's Air Force quickly issued warnings, confirming that Russian forces were targeting key areas with attack drones. Meanwhile, tensions escalated near the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant as management on Sunday reported a fresh Ukrainian attack on a nearby electricity substation, destroying a transformer. According to officials, a transformer at the Raduga substation in Enerhodar was destroyed by artillery fire. Smoke was seen rising from the site, but power to the town remained unaffected. The Zaporizhzhia station, Europe's largest, with 6 reactors seized by Russian forces in 2022, has become a flashpoint, with both sides frequently trading accusations of attacks. This follows claims by Ukraine's foreign minister that Russia is planning winter attacks on nuclear facilities. The UN's nuclear watchdog has repeatedly urged both sides to avoid targeting the sensitive area, warning of potential catastrophe. The United Arab Emirates said early on Monday the residence of its ambassador in Khartoum was attacked by a Sudanese military aircraft and condemned it as a heinous attack. The UAE's foreign ministry said in a statement that the attack on its ambassador's residence had caused extensive damage to the building. The Sudanese army has not immediately commented on the accusation. The Sudanese army has repeatedly accused the UAE of providing weapons and support to the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces in Sudan's 17-month-old war. The Gulf state denies the allegations. Now in Pakistan, gunmen killed 7 workers in Pakistan's southwestern province of Balochistan late on Saturday. Armed men stormed a residence where labourers from eastern Punjab province were staying and opened fire with automatic weapons, police said. No one has claimed responsibility. In August, Balochistan suffered some of its most widespread violence in years when separatist air raids attacked police stations, railway lines and highways, triggering retaliatory operations by security forces. Those attacks were claimed by Baloch Liberation Army. It wants the expulsion of Chinese interests and independence for Balochistan. Now, Austria's far-right topped national elections on Sunday, marking a historic victory. This victory is only the latest in a string of far-right election successes in Europe. Austria's far-right Freedom Party leader Herbert Kickl celebrated an unprecedented election victory and said this win has opened the door to a new era. Projected results gave Kickl's party 28.8%, more than 2 points ahead of the Conservative People's Party on 26.3%, but far short of a majority. While the Freedom Party has served in coalition governments before, this is the first time it has won a national vote, as far-right parties across Europe have made gains. There was a high turnout of 78% as Austria's 6.3 million voters took part in an election dominated by the twin issues of migration and asylum, as well as a flagging economy and the war in Ukraine. French far-right leader Marine Le Pen said she was delighted with the Freedom Party victory. She hailed what she called a groundswell that carries the defense of national interest, the safeguarding of identities and the resurrection of sovereignties. Japan's incoming new Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba plans to call a snap general election for late October. Ishiba won the leadership of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party on Friday and was expected to be sworn in as Prime Minister on Tuesday. As per media reports, Ishiba is finalizing plans to dissolve Parliament on October 9 ahead of general elections on October 27th. Former Defence Minister Ishiba replaced Fumio Kishida as leader of the LDP, which has governed Japan almost uninterrupted for decades. The unpopular Kishida resigned in the wake of a damaging party slush fund scandal, which added to his unpopularity among voters angry at rising prices. And US President Joe Biden. In fact, Japanese equities plunged on Monday on the back of concerns that incoming Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba will hike taxes in the world's fourth biggest economy. Japan's key Nikkei index fell over 4% after former Defense Minister Shigeru Ishiba was elected head of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party. Ishiba, set to become Prime Minister on Tuesday, has said he supports the Bank of Japan raising interest rates, but investors are also worried he might raise the taxes. US President Joe Biden on Sunday approved $567 million in defense support for Taiwan, the White House announced. This move strengthens Taiwan's military amid increasing tensions with China. In a statement, the White House said Biden had delegated the Secretary of State the authority to direct the drawdown of up to $567 million in defense articles and services of the Department of Defense and military education and training to provide assistance to Taiwan. The United States remains Taiwan's key international backer and arms supplier. China continues to oppose US arms sales to Taiwan, which it claims as its territory. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India Live. In a bid to solidify the long-standing bonds between Jamaica and India, Prime Minister of Jamaica is on India visit from 30th September to 3rd October. The Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir all geared up for the final phase of voting for assembly elections scheduled for October 1st. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. US is gearing up for yet another and possibly last feisty TV debate between the rival camps ahead of November 5 polls. The CBS News debate between US Vice Presidential nominees J.D. Vance and Tim Walz is generating great interest purely as a great TV debate, even if it may or may not matter in the overall ratings.
US vice presidential candidates J.D. Vance and Tim Walz will face off Tuesday in a debate that promises to be a feisty battle to win over voters in Middle America, who would decide the cliffhanger 2024 election. The Republican Ohio senator and a Democratic Minnesota governor make for a study in contrasts and have already traded a series of bad-tempered insults in the bitter race for the White House. Both know that their bosses are counting on them to reach out to voters in the blue-collar US heartland and help propel them to the Oval Office. The clash should make for good television, even if VP debates themselves rarely move the dial in the elections. The debate, hosted by the CBS network in New York, could also be the last major televised face-off before the election. A little extra spice could come from the fact that Vance's and Walz's microphones will be live throughout, allowing them to cut in on their rivals. Trump and Harris had their mics muted when it was not their turn to talk. The pressure could be biggest on Vance, as Walz is sure to attack him on his previous comments on women and abortion, including the childless cat lady's statement directed at Harris for not having biological children. Vance can also expect to come under fire for promoting false stories about Haitian migrants eating pet cats and dogs in town of Springfield, Ohio. But in the end, the debate will likely to come down to a clash of personalities. Both embody different versions of masculinity in an election that is dividing American men and women like never before. Vance has conservative definition of family. Democrat Tim Walz strives to project a different image of the good family man. Bureau Report, TD India.
Update on US presidential elections now. At a rally in Pennsylvania, Donald Trump unleashed sharp criticism at his 2024 presidential rival, Vice President Kamala Harris, calling her stupid and said she should be prosecuted for her alleged failure to stop illegal migrants from entering the US and committing crimes. Former President Donald Trump cited US Immigration and Customs Enforcement data claiming over 13,000 convicted migrant killers remained free, alleging Harris let them in. However, DHS officials later clarified that the data spans several decades and many of these migrants are in custody. Pennsylvania, a key battleground state in the upcoming election, has become central to Trump's campaign as both him and Harris vie for its critical electoral college votes. Trump's rally marks his fourth campaign stop in the state this month, underscoring its importance.
Already hundreds of people have been murdered because of her action at the border, and thousands more will follow in rapid succession. She should be impeached and prosecuted for her actions.
US Vice President Kamala Harris energized a crowd in Las Vegas on Sunday night, focusing her speech on the upcoming election while addressing the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Speaking in a competitive swing area previously visited by Donald Trump, Harris took jibes at the former president, criticizing his crowd sizes, refusal to debate, and privileged background.
I'm trying to debate Donald Trump again, and I think he should debate again. The American people have a right to hear us discuss the issues. And as you say here in Las Vegas, I'm all in. I'm all in. Even if my opponent is ready to fold. So there you go.
And Harris also spoke passionately about Helene's devastation, expressing solidarity with affected communities and speaking about relief efforts.
More than 3,300 federal personnel have been mobilized. We are deploying food, water, and generators and working to restore water and power. And the President and I have told state and local leaders we will provide whatever help they need in the days and weeks ahead.
As the storm's aftermath unfolds, Harris is cutting her campaign trip short to return to Washington for federal briefings on the response to the hurricane, according to a White House official. Now, in the United States, Hurricane Helene caused massive destruction in Florida. Cleanup and recovery efforts are underway on a hard-hit Horseshoe Beach, where some houses were reduced to rubble. The storm has killed at least 100 people, while it is feared still more bodies would be discovered. Power was out for millions as winds, rain and storm surge from Helene destroyed roads and bridges and caused catastrophic flooding from Florida to Virginia. Damage estimates range from $15 billion to more than $100 billion, insurers and forecasters said over the weekend. US President Joe Biden called the impact of Hurricane Helene as tragic and noted that FEMA teams were already on the ground in Florida. Byron drew attention to the disparity in damage assessments between local authorities and federal agencies and described the devastation as stunning. He assured that the federal government had deployed significant resources in advance, even beyond what had been requested.
Yes, it's tragic. Matter of fact, we're trying to get the exact number. My FEMA advisor is on the ground in Florida right now. There's a distinction between the numbers that FEMA's used and the ones that are used by the locals. So it really is amazing. You saw the photographs. It's stunning.
Now, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper announced 11 of the deaths were in his state and more casualties were expected. Cooper said that conditions remain challenging with flooding and washed out roads, but supplies were being airlifted to affected areas.
Our prayers and condolences go out to those families in this terrible time. Even as the rain and the winds have subsided, the challenge for people there increases. People are desperate for help, and we are pushing to get it to them, a massive effort. Many people are cut off because roads are impassable. They don't have power or communications. Please know that we are sending resources and coordinating closely with local governments, first responders, state and federal partners, and volunteer organizations to help those impacted by this tragic storm.
Now, rescue efforts are underway in Nepal amid flooding that has killed at least 192 people across Himalayan Republic, closing major roads and disrupting domestic air travel. Nepal's Home Ministry said 42 people are still missing. More than 3,000 security personnel were deployed to assist rescue efforts with helicopters and motorboats. Rescue teams were using rafts to pull survivors to safety. Nepal has shut its schools for 3 days. The Bagmati River and its numerous tributaries, which cut through Kathmandu, broke their banks, inundating nearby homes and vehicles. Residents struggled through chest-deep water to get to higher ground. Meanwhile, a flood alert has been sounded in 13 districts of Indian state of Bihar, situated along the swollen Kosi, Gandak and Ganga rivers. Minister of State for Home Affairs Nityanand Rai held a meeting with NDRF on flood situations in Patna on September 29th. In Araria district, houses and railway tracks were inundated due to flood-like situation and several train operations were affected. Farmers in North Bihar are also affected by the unexpected late-season floods. The India Met Department predicted heavy rain and warned of flash flood risk in parts of the state. Now, NASA and SpaceX have confirmed that SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule has arrived at the International Space Station to bring home stranded astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams next year. The two astronauts, originally set to return on Boeing Starliner capsule, have been stuck on the ISS since June after their spacecraft suffered thruster failures and helium leaks, rendering it unsafe for re-entry. NASA deemed it too risky for the return, sending the Starliner back to Earth unmanned. Now, Wilmore and Williams, along with two new astronauts, Nick Hague and Alexander Gorbanov, will return on Crew Dragon in February, turning their originally planned 8-day mission into an unexpected 8-month stay. SpaceX launched a rescue mission on Saturday to retrieve two astronauts. Now, Bollywood actor Mithun Chakraborty will receive India's highest award in the field of cinema, the Dadasaheb Phalke Award. Legendary actor Mithun Chakraborty, dearly known as Mithunda, will be honoured for his iconic contribution to the Indian cinema. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav shared the news on social media platform X. The actor will be felicitated with the award at the 70th National Film Awards ceremony, which will be held on October 8th. The Dadasaheb Phalke Award is India's highest award in the field of cinema. India's Minister of Information and Broadcasting Ashwini Vaishnav expressed immense joy in recognizing Mithun Chakraborty's monumental contributions to the Indian cinema.
बहुत ही गौरव की बात है कि मिथुन दा को दादा साहेब फाल्के अवार्ड दिया जा रहा है। मिथुन दा की पूरी ज़िंदगी स्ट्रगल और अचीवमेंट्स का एक कॉम्बिनेशन है। उन्होंने सिनेमैटिक हाइट्स अचीव की है और पब्लिक लाइफ में उनका बहुत बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन है। मैं मिथुन दा को बहुत बधाई देना चाहता हूँ।
With an aim to bolster bilateral relations, enhance economic cooperation and strengthen long-standing ties between Jamaica and India, Prime Minister of Jamaica, Dr. Andrew Holness, arrived in India on a 4-day visit. This is his first visit to India and also the first ever bilateral visit of a Prime Minister of Jamaica to India. During the visit, Prime Minister Holness will hold delegation-level talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and call on President and Vice President of India. A number of MOUs are expected to be signed during the visit, giving a fillip to bilateral cooperation. India and Jamaica share strong historical and cultural linkages reflected in their shared colonial past, values of democracy and freedom, and passion for cricket. Now, the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir all gear up for the third and final phase of voting for Assembly elections scheduled for October 1st. Voting for the third and final phase, covering 40 Assembly segments across 7 districts, Jammu, Udhampur, Samba and Kathua in the Jammu region, and Baramulla, Bandipora and Kupwara in North Kashmir to be held on Tuesday. The electoral fate of 415 candidates are in stake for this phase of voting. The results set to be announced on October 8th. Kanpur test now. Ravichandran Ashwin has provided India with a 6th breakthrough as it dismissed Shakib Al Hasan for 9 in India versus Bangladesh second test. Mominul Haq, who is standing solid, has been joined by Mehdi Hasan Miraz at the crease as 6 down Bangladesh aim for a stable partnership. On the other hand, India bowlers are eyeing some quick wickets to bundle out Bangladesh at the earliest. Reinforced early stumps on day 1 when Bangladesh were 107 for 3 in 35 overs, while the second day could not see any action due to the same reason, and same happened on the third day itself. So 2 days were washed out, and India will eye quick wickets now to bundle out Bangladesh and give themselves a chance for victory, and India are already 1-0 in the 2-test series. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.